Mrs. Johnston, it is time for knowledge and science. We are working on Unit 11, Taking Care of the Earth, Lesson 5, Recycle, Recycle, Recycle. Let's discuss what we have already learned. What are 3 ways that you can help conserve natural resources? Did you remember reduce, reuse, recycle? Our 3 words that begin with R. Can you give me some examples of natural resources that you have learned about so far? Did you say land, water, air, trees, and coal? Can you give me some specific examples of what you can do to reduce, reuse, or recycle these resources? Did you come up with items like use less paper towel to conserve, to reduce the amount of trees? Maybe you said turning off the water when you're brushing your teeth to reduce the amount of water you use. You might have also remembered to draw on both sides of the paper to help reuse paper to also reduce the amount of trees that are cut down. Was your examples the same as Mrs. Johnston? Or did some of you come up with some other ways to reduce, reuse, and recycle resources we've learned about? We are going to learn about something today called recycled. This is a process or a series of steps that take place to turn used material into something new. The first step is for us to put the recyclables aside and save them in a special container instead of putting them in the trash can. Recycling bins are bins that have the recycle symbol on them. Do you have any recycle bins in your class or at your home? What are some examples of recyclables? Did you say plastic, aluminum, glass, paper? Listen to today's read aloud about the different steps that take place when something is recycled. Listen carefully to the read aloud to find out more about today's topic, recycling. What do you think the artist is trying to say by placing the recycling symbol on top of Earth? Did you say things like Earth is trying to tell us that it's important to recycle to make sure Earth is around for a long, long time, to help conserve her natural resources? I asked an artist to make a picture with these green recycling arrows on top of me. I hope this will help you remember that recycling is very healthy for good old Earth. Recycling is so important that I have come back to tell you even more about it, just to make sure that you understand how good you are doing when you recycle something. The very first step in the recycling process is, instead of throwing recyclable materials away in an ordinary trash can, you must put these things aside and save them in another container, like a recycling bin. Once you have saved a lot of things to be recycled, they need to be brought to a place called a recycling center. Sometimes people bring their own recyclables directly to the recycling center. In this picture, you can see a place with several large bins of different colors. People can bring all their recyclable materials here, but everything has to go in the right place. Glass goes in one bin, cans in another, paper in another, and so on. In some places, though, people do not have to go to the recycling center themselves. Instead, they can set out their recycling bins by the side of the road, just like they set out their garbage cans. And a special recycling truck comes by to empty the bins and take the recyclables to the recycling center. Now, some cities and towns even have single stream recycling, which lets you put all your recyclables into one large container and it gets sorted at the recycling center. I don't know about you, but I think recycling is very interesting. Here's a colorful recycling picture. Can you guess what's being recycled in this picture? Did you say plastic? This is a picture of plastic bottle tops. All of these bottle tops were collected at a recycling center. Then they were taken to a plastics recycling factory where they were pressed together in a big, colorful mishmash. Later, these bottle tops will be melted down into a liquid so they can be remolded and turned into something new made of plastic. Look around your classroom or your home right now and see if you can spot anything made of plastic. I bet you can. Maybe it's even made from recycled plastic. Or maybe it's something you can recycle when you're done using it so it can be made into something else. What's in this picture? Here are some aluminum cans made out of a metal called aluminum. Maybe you have had drinks that come in cans like these. If you throw a can away into a trash can and send it off to a landfill, it will take at least 500 years for that aluminum can to break down and decompose. But if you put the same can in a recycling bin instead, the aluminum metal can be reused and the cans don't have to be buried in a landfill. Let's take a closer look at how cans are recycled. This diagram or drawing shows what happens when you recycle an aluminum can. Aluminum is a natural resource that is mined and dug out of the earth. From there, it goes to a factory where the raw aluminum is made into metal cans that can be filled with things such as soda. After you buy a can of soda and drink it, you are left with an old, used can. You can throw the can in the garbage, but then it will end up in a landfill. A better, more responsible solution is to put the empty can into a recycling bin. A solution is an answer to a problem. So let's look just for a moment at this diagram. Here is our aluminum can, unused, brand new. You open the aluminum can and drink the contents inside. When finished, you can recycle it or send it off to a landfill. Which would be better for the environment? Sending it off to a recycle factory. You are correct. These cans have already been sorted and cleaned at a recycling center and are now at a special recycling factory for aluminum. So plastic things go to plastic recycling factories, and aluminum cans go to an aluminum recycling factory. Workers at the recycling factory crush the cans and melt them down in a big cooker with lots of other cans. Maybe they'll make a new can and the cycle will begin all over again. The can gets filled with something to eat or drink. Someone uses the can and puts it in a recycle bin. The can is brought to a recycling center and finally a factory, and so on again and again. What are these bottles made of? Did you say glass? These bottles are made of glass. If you tossed bottles like these in the trash, they would be hauled away to a landfill. Some kinds of glass take about 3,000 years to decompose. That's a long time. Luckily, many glass items can be recycled instead. At the glass recycling factory, the glass is crushed into little pieces. Crushed glass is then put into a very hot furnace and melted into a super hot, glowing liquid. With enough heat, glass melts just like ice melts. Here is a little piece of glass that has been heated up so much that it is just about to melt and turn to liquid. Now imagine a big pot full of little bits of glass like this, all eventually melting together into a thick, hot, syrupy liquid. That's what you would find at a glass recycling factory. This picture shows the inside of a bottle making factory. These are freshly made bottles. They are so hot, you dare not touch them, but they'll be cool and hard again soon. Recycling really isn't hard to do, but I'll admit that it does require a little bit of extra work. Taking the time to decide whether to throw something away in the garbage can or whether to put it in the recycling bin doesn't always make it to the top of the to-do list. but it really is worth the time to take care of good old Earth. Be sure to ask yourself next time you use a bottle, a can, or anything else, is this recyclable? Can I conserve natural resources by making it into something useful again? What is the main topic of the read aloud? Did you say recycling? So, what is recycling? Recycling is when you save something so that it can be recycled and reused to make something new instead of throwing something away and having it sent to a landfill. Name some of the things you can recycle. Some things that you can recycle are glass, plastic, aluminum, and paper. What happens to the things you take to a recycling center? They go to a recycling factory and get turned into new things to be used again. Describe the steps taken to recycle glass. Look at this picture and tell me the first step. Did you say the glass gets recycled at a recycling center and then taken to the glass factory, where it is crushed, then it is melted, and finally, people use the melted glass to make new glass items? Mrs. Johnston hopes you enjoyed hearing our story on recycle, recycle, recycle. What can you do today to help recycle something?